What's good, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Theology Applied, the place where you are learning how all good theology is practical theology. And today we are going to be addressing the issue of free will. Can human beings choose God in and of themselves? Can they make a choice for God in and of themselves? Do they have the desire to choose God in and of themselves? And in order to understand this, we have to understand something about the heart. And as I'm talking about this, I used to have friends, and I would have a friend every now and again. Once I got converted, they would say things like, Toussaint, you changed your life, as if the power was in me to change my own life, as if the power was in me to be able to choose God. And so when we're talking about free will, this is how people are normally defining free will, that they can just make the choice in and of themselves. And I want to help you understand what Scripture teaches about the will of man. So first of all, we need to understand that the heart is bound by sin. This is how we are born. We are bound by sin. Our hearts are corrupt. Our hearts are corrupt. One of the key texts that gives us this view of humanity is found in probably a text that you may think is a bit obscure. Genesis chapter 5, verses 1 through 3. In verses 1 through 2, we see that Adam and Eve were made in the likeness of God, that God created them male and female. And then in verse number 3, it says, and here is the key, Genesis chapter 5, verses 3, it says that humanity is now in the likeness of Adam. That is fascinating. That is extremely interesting because we see first Adam and Eve created in the likeness of God, and then humanity is created in the likeness of Adam. Now you might be asking, why is that fascinating? Why is that so interesting? And it is because Adam and Eve had no children prior to the fall. Genesis chapter 2, God tells them to be fruitful and multiply. Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, the fall happens. Somebody said that one of my favorite theologians said that it is believed that Adam and Eve fell on the first day, that they fell on the first day of creation, that they did not abide for one day. And so Genesis 2, they get the command from God to be fruitful and multiply. Genesis 3, they fall into sin. Eve is deceived. Adam walks into this rebellion with his eyes wide open. And then comes the genealogies. And we find out as the genealogies are progressing that humanity has been and is in the likeness of Adam. So we have this mysterious connection with our first father, Adam, and we are like him by way of his rebellion. So humanity is in the likeness of Adam. We are in the likeness of Adam. We make choices. Yes, we make choices. And these choices are predicated upon what we want to do. So we have a set of want tos that we are born with. And what we want to do, we do those things from a heart that is corrupt and a will that is in bondage to sin. So we see this in Genesis chapter 5. We are in the likeness. Genesis chapter 5, verses 3. We are in the likeness of Adam. In Mark chapter 7, Jesus says that from the heart come fornications, adulteries, thefts, murders, slander. All these things come from the heart. And so we're making choices again from this heart that is corrupt. That's Mark chapter 7, verses 21 through 23. Now the issue is we need to get from where we are here to God who is over here. We need to get here. How do we get to where God is from a will that is enslaved to sin and a heart that is corrupt? When we make choices apart from the work of God in salvation, we will always choose what we want to do. So we will make choices, and the choices are exactly what we want. But what we want is not to please God. In fact, we can't please God apart from the work of God. Romans chapter 8, verses 8 says that in the flesh, you cannot please God. You don't have the capability, you don't have the ability, you don't even have the desire to please God. And what I mean by that is we have this religion, this faith apart from Christ that believes many times that we can work our way to God. Every religion outside of Christianity will say in some way, shape, form, or fashion that your good can outweigh your bad. And what you do is you take that good and you take that to God, and God will weigh up all of your good. He'll see that your good outweighs your bad, and then you'll be accepted. Well, that is the height of arrogance, because what it says, when we offer up these works, these deeds that are tainted by sin, the prophet Isaiah said that our righteousness is as filthy rags. So when we offer up works that have been tainted by sin, we are saying that what we are offering up to God is better than what Jesus Christ has done on the cross. That when Jesus said in John 19:30 that it is finished, we say, based off the works that we have to offer, it is not finished. We say that Jesus didn't do enough when we try to offer up our works to God in order to merit salvation. And so we're making these choices inside of this enslaved will from this corrupt heart. So how do we get from this position, this status, this state over here to God? Well, this is what has to happen. The will has to be broken by the power of the gospel. Romans chapter 1, verses 16, the apostle Paul says what? For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation. When the sinner hears the gospel of God and hears it, I mean, really hears it. When God tells the sinner to come forth, as he did in John chapter 11, or an example of this in the physical realm would be Jesus telling Lazarus to come forth, John chapter 11. Lazarus hears the call. Lazarus comes out of the grave. He hears Jesus saying, come, and he comes. Well, in a spiritual sense, when we hear the gospel with spiritual ears, when Christ tells us to come and we hear it, we come, the will is broken. This enslaved will, this will that is enslaved to sin, is broken. So with our free will, we will never choose God. But when the gospel comes, it breaks the will that has our corrupt hearts in bondage. That this heart, or that this will is shattered, and then this heart is replaced with a heart of flesh. And so, God doing all of this, we would say this is monergistic. Monergistic. Another 50-cent word. You're learning a lot today. Monergistic means one work. Mono, and then energy. One work, one energy. God does this alone. God shatters the will without our help. God changes the heart without our help. God gives us the call of the gospel, and once the sinner hears this gospel call with spiritual ears, they come to God. The Spirit having broken the will, they come to God through Jesus Christ. So, free will is a myth in the sense that the sinner will choose God apart from God working. Apart from God's monergistic work, his one work, the sinner will never be able, even capable of working their way to God from a heart that is corrupt and a will that is enslaved to their desires. Apart from God, yes, the sinner will make choices, but the choice will never be to please God, and they cannot please God. But when God, by the power of the gospel, breaks the will that is enslaving this corrupt heart and removes the heart of stone and gives a heart of flesh, the sinner will come. And they want to come. Why? Because God has replaced the old want-tos, the want-tos that wanted to please self, the want-tos that had a desire to only do or to gratify the flesh. When that will is broken and God gives a new set of want-tos, these set of want-tos are want-tos that want to come to God. And so free will is, in my book, it's a myth. I mean, you could say, if you want to say that you have free will and that you choose, yeah, you do choose, but you choose according to your desires. You choose what you want. And what you want, apart from Christ, is never to please God. That's why we worship God and we thank God for the miracle of salvation. Listen, if you are a Christian and you are not surprised that you are a Christian, I don't know how you can be a Christian, because it is a miraculous work. And so today we've learned something about free will. I hope that this was helpful. Listen, leave a comment in the comment section. If you have any questions, leave those in the comment section. I look forward to interacting with you. I look forward to bringing you another lecture just like this. And in the meantime, remember that as you are studying theology, that all good theology is practical theology. And I will see you on the next one.